Welcome back.
Welcome back. Hello. I'm tired from seeing you.
Rephrase that because that doesn't sound very nice.
Not from seeing you. I'm tired from going to LA. That's fair. Let me finish my coffee. I'm tired from going to LA. I'm still recalibrating.
It's a drive.
It's a drive, and I do it very often.
Meadow was here for a friend's engagement party.
And a holiday party.
Do
you want to see what I got?
Yeah.
Can I show you real quick?
Did you give someone? Did somebody like the gift you gave?
Yes, and then someone else stole part of it, which was cute. I got. Oh my god, this is. Hold on, stand by. Of course, going to Orville Peck's White Elephant Party, I got gifted Trixie Mattel makeup, which is cute. I got the Breakup palette and the Rebound palette, and then it's so me. This is such a me gift. The dolls. It's a coffee table book of like incredible iconic drag queens, like gorgeous, stunning photography. And Doug, my new friend Doug, who I met, gifted it because this guy Marco is his friend. The photographer Marco's his friend. And he gave a copy to Orville that was signed and then sent him an extra. And he was like, oh, perfect. I'll throw it on the White Elephant.
Cute.
So cute. I loved it.
Oh, I love that. I'm glad you had a good time.
It was very, very fun. Very wholesome. Great people, good conversations, good food. Do you see his little chicken and waffles? Him and his mom did all the food. They had like little triangle squares of waffles with like a little piece of fried chicken with toothpicks, and then they set little tiny bottles of maple syrup. So you could
That's
huge charcuterie, big little butter thing with like rosemary and olive sticking out of it. You and Maddie would have loved. They crushed it on the food. I mean, they always crush it on the food. Yeah, I made lots of AD jokes to push your article. Anytime, because Aaron had never been. He was like, oh, the house is so nice. He's like, oh, have you seen the AD? Like, just all night long.
Thanks, publicist.
Literally.
I appreciate you. Oh my God. That's a great house.
How was the rest of your time after we had to separate?
It was good. It was chill. I told you I was in bed by like 9:30.
Yeah.
It's the perfect day. And then the next day I did something fun.
Tell us.
Which I had never done before. And I got... So if you watched a couple episodes ago, I was like, guys, I look like a duck. I just got lip filler and I look nuts. I got them dissolved, but a month later.
Boy, did she.
And here's the tea. Number one, never cheat on an aesthetic person that you like.
Yeah.
Because I have been getting a little bit of lip filler for the last like 2 years, once a year. Mm-hmm. And I've always gone to this one chick and she always does a good job. And then I saw some other company come up, obviously on TikTok, which like makes me nauseous to even say out loud. And anyway, they looked really natural, blah, 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 whatever. It wasn't like in LA proper. So I was like, maybe they'll do it even a little bit more natural, whatever. I was so anxious. It was such a perfect example of stop ignoring your intuition because I was so anxious leading up to it. I'm always like a little bit anxious right before because I only do it once a year. I don't get a lot done. I'm super particular about like how they do it. So and it's your face. So I always am like a little bit uneasy, but this was a level of uneasy that was like, you shouldn't go, you shouldn't go, you shouldn't go. And I was like, kept shutting up the little voice in my head. I just knew I shouldn't have gone. Anyway, I went immediately distraught.
Yeah.
And listen, when I went to my girl tail between my legs a month later, she was like, it's not bad. Like, it's not, I've seen botched lips. Like, this is not bad. She was like, but it's your face. Because I told her, I was like, I have never gotten anything done. And lip filler is the most, like, I'm going to adjust the way that I look thing that I've done. And even still, every time, the 2 times I've gotten it done in the past, I've made sure that it's, like, literally what it looks like right now, which is me with lip liner. So it's like my same shape and just like enhanced. This time it was just a different shape. And so it really freaked me out to look in the mirror and be like, those aren't my lips.
Yeah.
And it really did something to me. It would like, I like wanted to cry. I was like upset. And it wasn't even like, oh, I don't like I look ugly. It wasn't that. It was just like, I don't look like myself and it's freaking me out.
Yeah.
I really hated the feeling. So I was like, fuck it. I've heard it hurts like a bitch, but we're going to be a big girl. We put ourselves into the situation. We're going to get ourselves out of it. So I went to my girl tail between my legs and got them dissolved. Listen, it hurts. It stings a lot.
Yeah.
but it's so much faster than getting filler itself that like, and the sting only lasts for as long as she's injecting it. Like it immediately stops after.
And she numbed
So
you
it was,
beforehand or no? Yeah.
but the numbing only helps the pinch. The numbing
Yeah, it
doesn't
doesn't
help the
help the
stinging.
dissolving. Yeah.
And the actual stinging is it's a pretty intense burning,
Yeah.
but it goes away in like seconds
Okay.
and not like 30 seconds. It's like as long as she's just in, like pushing the
Right.
serum or whatever it is, like in.
So it's pretty instantaneous.
Yeah. And it's a natural enzyme that your body produces that
Right.
is what breaks down filler.
Over
But
time
they use
anyway.
it in cases like of emergency too. If you have a bad reaction, they use it right away.
Right.
So the
Right.
point is it starts working right away too. I was really swollen. I was going on a journey the first day because it was like super swollen just from being injected. And then it was like 1 hour, it was like completely down. And
Yeah.
then 1 hour, it was like one side was really swollen. And then the next hour, it like moved to the other
You're
side. It was
sending me the
just such a
photo
funny
updates.
day.
It's so funny.
I have photo updates of like every hour. Maybe I'll
Yeah.
include them if I'm feeling generous.
Yeah.
But by the next day, I looked in the mirror and I was like, oh, this is my natural lip again.
They're like
So today I just have my little
overnight.
lip liner on.
Nice.
Yeah, she said like it'll usually take like a week for all the swelling to go away, but I don't feel swollen anymore.
Nice.
So I'm pretty sure that we're like back to square one.
It's just one of those things where
Yeah.
it is worth it to pay whatever money it is to feel safe and confident and comfortable and know that you're in safe hands getting a good job done.
Yeah. And we were laughing about it and she didn't like actually make me feel bad about it.
Yeah, of course.
And I honestly think it like
course.
opened up our relationship because before we never talked much.
Oh, there you
And
go.
now we talked a lot.
There you go.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm very fortunate to go to the woman, Sandy, Get to Aesthetics in Laguna de Guel, if anyone wants to go, that has done my mother for like her whole life. So I'm like, I feel like I know her intimately. She has like a lot of kids and she's got a cute dog and she's obsessed with Mahal and I bring Mahal. We're like homies.
Yeah.
So it's fun.
Oh, well, I'll tell you guys where I go because I trust her. So it's called With Love Aesthetics. If you're in LA, it's in Tarzana, and I go to Lena.
Yeah.
And don't be frightened by the Instagram because there are a lot of like, we're in LA. People want a lot. She really has like such a soft touch.
Yeah.
If you want crazy, she'll go crazy. If you want barely, she'll really barely do it. She's done a really, really, really good job in the past.
That's why I like Sandy too, because I've asked her about something and she's been like, absolutely not. You don't need that. You're not doing that.
Yeah.
But you know how, I mean, I'm the same as you. I've only had lip filler and Botox in my forehead, like right in the middle and here to like lift a little bit because I'm telling you, I woke up overnight at age 28, 29, something like that, and was like, my eyelids are fallen. Like my eyes look complete overnight. I've aged. I'm different. Like, and I guess because you're in your 30s, it's like the first time since it's my first time really aging and like seeing an aging face. And my eyes fell, and I was like, what is going on? I'm so different. But
It's weird to start seeing yourself age.
It is weird, but I do really, really want to age gracefully, and by that mean like not being afraid of aging. And you also know, I mean, I talked about that on that one YouTube video I made fucking a year ago. Like the spirituality and cosmetic getting work done is it's so interesting to me because part of me is like, not to go on a whole tangent, but part of me is like, I'm a soul in a shell and I get to decorate my shell however I want. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
It's drag. Like, this is fun. It's like clothes. It's like tattoos. Like, who the fuck cares? And then the other part of me is like, I want to look in the mirror and like see my dad and like be reminded of who I am and where I come from and like feel like myself. And also, because it is all drag and the shell doesn't matter, I should feel whole and complete and not like it. I don't want like any confidence or self-worth to be intimately tied up with how the shell is decorated. And I don't feel like it does, but also it does to the extent that I'm willing to do lip filler. It's just an interesting dance. It's an interesting dance. And it doesn't make me feel like I'm super confident and comfortable with whatever I've done. I've been raised by, you know, my mom's 5 sisters that are all, get a facelift, get this, get whatever the fuck you want. Don't let anyone tell you shit. Like, do what you want with your body. Who cares? So I was raised with it being so normal that to me, it doesn't feel like extreme in any matter. But you know, I mean, I don't know. It's interesting. Like I guess all of my rambling to say, you not looking like yourself and not looking like the way you wanted to play with yourself would send me into a spiral too.
Yeah.
Because that shit is intimate.
I think you just nailed it. It's intimate and it's very individual. So I
Yeah.
totally agree with you. It is such a dance, and I feel very similarly. And also, I completely understand why people want to do whatever they want to do.
More.
And we could even
Yeah.
go into the conversation of like either, does media need to get like a little bit softer with their expectations? Yes. Do we need to honor what aging looks like, particularly for women? Yes, it's normal. Like, I don't think there should be shame around the
Right.
concept of aging
Right. The
at
way that
all.
it is.
And at the same time, I also think that you should be allowed to do whatever the fuck you want to do to feel however you want to feel. And I don't think it's like a cop out. I don't think that because I went to go get lip filler, I should have instead gone to 3 more therapy sessions and like figured out the root
No.
cause. Do you know what I
No, no,
mean?
no, no. Yeah. I absolutely agree. I absolutely agree.
But I think it is like a very individual, delicate dance.
Yeah. I love
Yes, not
seeing
looking like myself freaked me out.
Yeah, I love seeing cool new age brands like ALD or whoever it is work with models that are older and aging and look
Mm-hmm.
their age and are still stylish and cool. Like, I love seeing people try to bust that, like, a woman or man's worth past a certain age, which we
Mm-hmm.
all know it's usually women. Another thing, Skinny Confidential, one of the reasons why I really like her is she gets work done and she fucking talks about not only every single thing, but she brings every doctor on to be like, what are people getting? What are the risks? Why should you get this? Why should you get that? Why are people regretting this? Like, what is X, Y? Like,
Mm-hmm.
I think a big thing here is also radical transparency.
Yeah.
Like, I agree that Bella Hadid should be the most beautiful woman in the world because she is. That one year she won it or whatever, she's sculpted by the gods. Like, her face is that of an absolute fucking angel. But she is quite literally sculpted by people that are help you do that. So it's like,
Yeah.
I totally agree. It's beautiful and it's art and it's fun and cool, but like, you have to be upfront about it. Not saying she's not, but I just think there's a level of radical transparency that I respect the fuck out of when I hear other
Yeah.
women talk about it.
Yeah. No, I completely agree. I think there's like, then because I also then lean towards, it's just so case by case for me.
Yeah, yeah.
But sometimes, because yes, I think that one of the biggest issues, obviously, with media and social media is the comparison game that people play and that we see young girls playing. And it's so dangerous and it's so sad because you're comparing yourself to something that's not real. And you're
Mhm,
never going to be able to achieve that. And
mhm,
that's a really difficult position to put yourself in. And so, on the one hand, tangent, like if you're in a city like LA or you're in a city like Miami or even New York, because New York is much more like elegantly done. And I say elegantly to mean like it's more discreet, the
mm,
work that's done in New York
mm,
versus like a city like Miami or LA. But if you are in cities like that, and if you're not, but you're on your phone all the time, make sure that you get a reality check often. Like log off, go spend some time around people who are aging normally and get that reality check. And then on the other side of what I was saying before, when it comes to celebrities and things like that, it is case by case. But sometimes I wonder how often we're putting so much responsibility onto people to tell every single detail of their lives because they owe it to us. I understand the
mm.
responsibility of being
Good point.
transparent, especially when it's talked about in the media so
Good point.
much and you
Yeah.
are being named the most beautiful woman ever, whatever. Like that is one situation. But then also it's like, okay, if
It's not our
Nicole
business.
Kidman is like getting Botox, like is it really our business?
Yeah.
Or can we just
Yeah,
go
I hear
ahead and
that.
assume that like the majority of people have work done?
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, why
That's
does she,
such
just because she wanted to be an actress doesn't mean she now needs to tell us like her intimate medical details?
such an important distinction. And you also led me to think like tech's responsibility, like not
Hmm?
XT, but CK, tech, the responsibility
Oh,
of
tech.
AI
Yeah.
and tech. Because
Hmm.
I mean, the Kardashians have
Yeah.
a filter on their cameras
Yeah.
to
Like,
talk
that
to.
should be in a fine print, I feel like, somewhere.
That's nuts. That is nuts. But
Yeah.
also just like the way you can manipulate yourself on the phone and the way that our reality
Hmm.
is going to blend more and more with tech going forward. Like, I feel as if tech has a huge responsibility in these kind of beauty standards, I guess. Huge
I think so
responsibility.
too. Yeah, I agree.
Grimes and Julia Fox had a cool conversation about that once. I love
Ooh,
the
I want
two
to
of
listen to
them.
that.
Yeah. I'm listening to Julia Fox's book on Spotify right now.
Oh, is she narrating it?
Yes, she is. Maybe that's why I wanted to
Ugh,
listen. I want to hear it in her voice.
she's so funny.
What a life. I mean,
I
just
love her.
dream podcast guest.
Oh, yeah.
Dream podcast guest.
I saw this thing on TikTok where a girl was talking about something called the Hannah Montana effect or something like that. And she was saying, she was like, I think such a key to happiness would be for all of us to have our own version of our own Hannah Montana. So whether you're doing whatever it is that you do during the day, like that's your day job, having it's basically saying everyone should have a hobby. But it could be like the most random thing in the entire world where like once a week, twice a week for 3 hours, whatever your time is, you go into that space and you're like that person that's doing that hobby. And it's just like could be ridiculous. And it was just a fun take on have a fucking
Have a hobby.
Yeah.
That's still sticking with you, that one comment? Don't let her get to you.
Oh no, I forgot about that.
Okay.
Also, not my stepdad sending me hate mail because I just got a new car.
What did he say?
Just out of nowhere. Tesla recalls 2 million vehicles.
Okay, Javier, thanks.
I mean, listen, I just spent the morning watching YouTube videos of like safety features on the car to make sure I know how to like get out in case there's like a blackout.
Uh-huh. How'd that go?
Fine. You know, there's safety features involved, but you're driving a laptop and it's weird and I frankly don't like it so far.
I love driving it. Please
we've committed to the cause because of many a reason.
Which we don't have to get into. Anyway, I like that it was hobby focused because the way I was originally taking it was like have something to project a certain side of you and be a different version of you in a different area. And I was like, oh, I don't like that. I think that's I was so nervous and I was like, oh, hobby wise. Yeah, I feel like we do that, but I feel like we have like 7 Hannah Montana moments then.
Yeah. Yeah, no, for sure. Yeah. I just thought it was a cute like way that she explained it much better than I did.
But
it was this cute idea.
Because I know mine. Mine's my French class that you are helping me commit to. Bonjour. Je m'appelle Madeleine.
What is mine? Because it doesn't even have to be that deep. She was like, it could just be like you're cooking and you're learning new recipes, which I feel like has really become like hobby lately. Like not lately, over the last like year. I've really taken a deep dive into my culinary.
You've said that for like 2 years. Can't be yours anymore. That's integrated to your personality. Pick a different one.
That's the thing. You know, I'm not a hobby girl. I'm like, what do I do? I'm reading more.
That's a great one. Reading's like one of my favorite hobbies. What are you reading right now?
I'm reading like 4 different books. I'm reading.
That's as I love to
obviously, I'm always reading some Samantha Irby book integrated into whatever else I'm doing.
You were supposed to give me one because I've still never read anything from her.
Okay. Well, I'm reading Meaty, which I'm pretty sure is her first book. And then I'm reading Talk Like Ted. It's all about communication skills. And then I'm reading the book you gave me.
Which one?
Our secret book.
Oh, thank you. I didn't get the telepathy. I need to finish my coffee.
Then, is that it?
You got to finish that one. That one you could finish in 2 days.
I'm like 100 pages left. I'm going to finish it this weekend. Yeah. And then I'm constantly reading I'll Teach You to Be Rich by Ramit Sethi. I just like pause until I do all of the steps and then I go back to it.
I'm still reading On Our Best Behavior. I kind of gave up on Storyworthy for now just because I've been more interested in other things. I'm plowing through Outliers by Malcolm Gladwell.
Ooh, I want to pick that one up.
I'll just give it to you when I'm done. We could do a book swap. Obviously I'm listening now to Julia Fox's book. And I have one other by my bedside table. I can't remember what it is. C'est la vie.
I do need a fucking hobby.
Reading is a great hobby. Do you want to take up knitting?
Honestly, yeah, because what I was just thinking, I was like, the hobbies that I think about wanting to do, like pottery, are not cheap, and I have to leave my house.
Knitting is cheap. You get like needles and a thing of yarn from Michael's, and you sit on your couch and binge watch TV while you knit. It's gorgeous.
I think I should do that, and I think I need a Michael's trip in my life because I was telling Zoe the other day, the amount of times that as a child, like all I wanted to do was like scrapbook and go to Michael's.
Oh, I made scrapbooks all the time. And you do like the background paper and the stickers and the stuff all the time.
My friends and I would make each other
Pinteresting before there was Pinterest.
Yes.
Yeah.
And for our birthdays, we would get like posters and make each other cards that we'd fold a poster in half. So it was a huge card. And then it was like you'd glue a bunch of shit on it.
Cute. You've seen the book that Becky made, Annika. With my little bow trying to be Alice in Wonderland. And I take it like this and I have the eyeliner.
You were so Meadow and her angsty.
My Pen 15 phase is rough. Like kids these days don't understand. I feel like kids these days do not have awkward phases the way
not
in
the
the
way
early
that they used
2000s
to.
we had awkward phases. Like it's just not the same.
I feel like genetics and just
Yeah, what is that? Genetics?
No, I'm saying like I'm like, is it your genetics, whatever. Nature is going to take its course on you, 13-year-old child. Okay, you're gonna have. Everyone needs a little bit of an awkward, ugly stage. It makes you funnier.
I feel like they're not
but
having
now,
them, though. It does make you funnier.
I just think
My
that they're like
personality is
they
so
know
much
how
better
to. The
because of
girls
it.
know how to do their makeup better now.
Oh,
because they're on TikTok. Everyone's doing a cute natural look. Like you need to go through your phase of like, it's just a white stripe under your eye, and you're pretending like you're not wearing eyeliner.
It's just
You know,
the best. The best. It does
have
build
you seen
character.
the stupid?
Absolutely. But
Have you
I
seen
think
the
I'm
stupid
funnier.
hair that the guys have? Yeah, I think I'm
what do you
funnier
mean?
too.
No?
I just know this because I have a fucking 14, 15-year-old nephew. Their stupid little haircut. Like, you know how like there was like the Justin Bieber hair and like the swoop. And then before that, it was like the Ryan Seacrest spiky and like, whatever. Now it's like dirty hair that is just like, it goes out. It's just like a helmet. And they all just look like they're like wearing a visor that goes all the way around their freaking head.
You got to send that
and it's
to me.
their dirty,
I feel like I have a visual, but
nasty hair.
Just sounds like skaters.
Yeah, it is. Because think about like all those little TikTok boys. I feel like they all look like little skater boys.
I don't
like
there's
pretty.
You think my TikTok algorithm is men?
No, it's not my algorithm either. But I'm just saying, like I like when like Charlie D'Amelio became famous, like the boys that they were like dating and stuff. I feel like that's what they all like.
I don't know anything about her or who she is. I don't know. You know, I live under a rock. I know no one.
I know.
To the point where it's bad. Okay. Do you remember we were at a party once and I was like, I think I went to high school with that guy. And you were like, bitch, he's famous. Shut up.
I do that all the time. I do that all the time. But it really just shows how different people's algorithms are because the other days they'll like spit out 45 different names to me. And I was like, I've never heard of these people.
Couldn't tell you.
And I'm happy that they don't take up brain space.
Aaron and I live on extremely different sides of the internet, but it makes it really fun to see how different niche can be, which again goes back to our prediction of when everyone can have 1 million followers and it's like, who cares anymore? People are going to seek out communities that are nicher and nicher. Like, it's not like everyone's going to know everyone. You know what I mean? Like, it's just not the future of communities on the internet at all. I stand by that.
Meadow, I had a conversation with someone the other day who didn't know who Jay Shetty was. Like dead ass.
The way
had
my
no
whole
idea who he
internal
was.
organs just like squeezed.
No, me too. I thought that they were. I was like, what? Like I couldn't compute it.
I'm not kidding you. 9:00 at night last night, my mother called me. Oh my God, I'm on New York Times. Did you know that Jay Shetty just married Vanessa Hudgens? What do you get off the internet, woman? She's emailed me like 3 or 4 different Rick Rubin interviews. And I was like, babe, I was on the wait list for his book since last October. Like I've been obsessed with him before people knew who he was. Like you're
She's trying.
Years late to this, but I love you so much. She's trying.
She's trying.
Jay Shetty marrying Vanessa Hudgens. Her dress looked gorge. I looked it up then because we were talking about it.
Yeah, I was shooketh to the core. I was like, what? And then I didn't think anything bad of it. I was just like, oh, wow, we're really on different sides of the internet.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, that's all.
Even though we're all in the same top 10 Spotify podcasts list, but
whatever.
Whatever. We are really rubbing 2 brain cells together today.
Okay, so today.
Oh, fuck. Did your camera die? It's dying. It's
did you not charge it?
I thought I did, but it's dying.
We had to pause to charge our batteries, and now we're back. So if the camera looks slightly different,
mind your business. Here's a Mahal to make up for it.
Your business. God, oh my God. Yesterday I was on a walk, and I saw a little one of her, but short-haired, brown spots.
Oh my God.
Just the way they walk is so funny.
It's so cute.
No wonder everyone stops. I thought of you because I smiled at the girl and like giggled.
Yeah.
And I was like, Meadow probably gets this 400 times a day.
Every single person that passed us just does a little giggle or has to say hi. One of my new friends, Marco, they have 2. Him and his boyfriend, Hunter, have 2 wiener dogs, and they just got a new one, and he was sending me photos and videos. Like this big. The little, I'll send you them.
Have they become unruly tyrants already?
Well, I mean, they got
Or are they
him
still cute?
yesterday. He got a new one.
Oh.
But his other one is older. Both of the other ones are a little bit older. So they got a new baby.
Okay, so I know we rambled for like 20 minutes, but today we've got a lot of requests to do this theme. And we talk about it all the time. And I think it's inserted into pretty much every single episode of Thoughts May
Yeah,
Vary,
kind of.
if you ask me,
Yeah.
to some
Yeah.
degree. Today we're going to be talking about the sister wound.
Yeah? Easy for you to say. That Freudian slip, though.
The ruined wound.
Yeah.
No, we're going to be talking about, today we're going to be talking about the sister wound, what it is, how to heal it, how it shows up.
Well, and to be
All
fair,
things.
we're just barely scratching the surface on this. Because
Oh,
we got
yeah.
a lot. This is something we'll unpack ongoing a lot of the time. But I think we've talked about it, but we've never had one little segment to kind of say some thoughts, if you will.
So essentially, if you don't know what the sister wound is, it's really not that deep. It's basically the manifestation of what happens when women have been pitted against each other for
Historically,
centuries.
pervasively, and
It's really what
systematically.
happens. It is the manifestation of what happens in a patriarchy. And when women are pitted against each other, that is quite literally the point. Because the more that we do this, the more that we lose our power. And that's the point of a patriarchy. So a sister wound is just generations and generations of that happening. And this goes back to the beginning of patriarchy. We're talking colonialism, we're talking witch trials, like all of that. Because before all of those times, there was very much this collective, it takes a village mentality that was not exclusive to women.
No.
And I feel like that is a point that frustrates me. And I think that the Barbie movie at the end of the movie did a very good job of illuminating that, is that it doesn't mean a world filled with matriarchy doesn't mean that men are at the bottom and women are at the top. We're here. And it's this cycle. It's a big circle. And I think the Barbie movie
It's like two
explains that
gears
pretty
fitting
well.
together.
Yeah. We need one
Yeah.
another. And the sister wound essentially comes from women's need to survive, because you're either betraying each other or you're martyring yourself. And there used to really not be very much in between. You know?
Yeah, I do. It's I am reminded of the book because I read this a long time ago and Aaron was trying to find it on Spotify audiobooks. The book Sapiens. Have you read that? Which is just
No. My stepdad has I always like catch him. It's a thick one.
It's thick. To be fair, I didn't finish it, but it is fun to just kind of see the same way that I don't shut up about On Our Best Behavior, which I'm looking at right there, is that it's fun to see the way in which social dynamics play out today, how that relates to our evolution and our history. And you're so right. Like the way we were all collectivistic societies, all live together, it takes a village, men and women and children. And then watching the way colonialism spread, how everything spread, and then how marriage came about to couple off one woman with one man, and it broke us up from our group and our like community to couple it off with each other, and how that was a very effective way of losing our power because it split us all up and inherently created competition amongst each other. It just, I've been going through a phase right now where I'm really liking relating present day social dynamics to the evolutionary impact of like why they make sense. Because, you know, I say it all the time, but like we are in a day and age, technological revolution, a time and place where our bodies have not caught up with the world in which we live in by any capacity. So like watching that cognitive dissonance play out, sister wound is a perfect example of like one of the byproducts of that.
I would love to talk about how it plays out.
Okay.
I want to like list off a few things and then maybe we can talk about how it's shown up in our lives.
Oh, sure. Yeah. Let's do it.
Because I mean, I think we'll have examples for each one of these high level
Let's do it.
points, because the ways that this shows up, because you might be like, oh, I'm not pitting myself against other people, or I'm not XYZ. The way that it shows up is it could be so micro.
How about this? Let's start. When I was in middle school, I was like, I like hanging out with boys better. Like boys are less drama. Like I rather be friends with guys. Like my best friends are boys. Like that is.
And why'd you say that? Because you thought it made you look cooler?
Yes, and also girls were so mean to me. Like I was so bullied
Mm,
and girls were so mean to me in 5th and 6th and 7th grade. And I was so depressed and rivalries and friendships and then they hook up with someone you like and vice versa. Like just girls can be so mean because of that inherent way that we're viewed
mhm.
or made to view each other as competition, not as sisters. So I
Yeah.
after a couple years of being really hurt from, and of course I played a role in that too. You know what I mean? It takes two to tango.
Mhm,
But after a couple of years of being hurt, I just removed myself and thought, I'll just hang out with boys for now. And then I ended up feeling
mhm,
so disconnected. And then I just
mhm,
got like a couple girl best friends and rather than a group.
mhm.
And that, because, you know, I didn't
Yeah.
have a friend group. But
Yeah.
yeah, that was one of the first examples of like sister wound coming to my mind.
Yeah, because it's the judgment towards other women, it's the competitiveness towards other women, it's the distrust
Yeah.
towards other women, and not just directly towards them, but even the distrust towards having a relationship or a friendship with another woman.
Hmm.
It shows up in such interesting ways. And what's so funny is like, and I want to talk about this later too, but like, it's this concept of power where one of the biggest lies that we've been fed is that there's only space for one of
Hmm.
us. And granted, there was a time and there still are many rooms and spaces where that is the reality. But I do genuinely think that in order to change that reality, we can't keep shutting the door behind
Hmm.
us. You have to keep it open. You have to keep sticking out your hand. I talk about this all the
Hmm.
time when I talk about mentorship. Gaining power and reclaiming, I should say, your own power does not diminish someone else's power. And I think that's part of this lie that there's only space
Hmm.
for one of us to exist here. Like the universe is big enough for
It's a
all of us
lack and
to exist. We're
abundance
here for a
mindset. Yeah.
reason.
Yeah. Yeah.
Exactly. Exactly. And the universe is here to provide
Hmm.
abundance. So even if you're getting like the woo woo spiritual route of it, like there's quite literally space for all of us because we are here for a
And
reason.
also not to get too ahead of ourselves because I do want to go through your list and come up with examples because it'll be fucking easy
Mm.
for us to do that. But when you do lean into that side of things and you do get so excited about all of your sisters' wins and the way they show up, whether or not that means you're getting a win at the same time, more comes to you. Like more flows to you when
Yeah.
you support one another. But let's go. I don't derail us too much because we're gonna get
Well, yeah, because your
excited.
wins are my wins and my wins are
Exactly.
your it's a
Exactly.
collective
Yeah.
thing. Like this isn't again also just us living in the United States. We've been conditioned our entire lives to live in the most individualistic
Hmm. Hmm.
mentality and
Hmm.
society.
Bring back the red tent. You know how much I would
It's
love that?
what's the
I
red
mean,
tent?
I don't want to say that because there's countries that don't let women go to school when they have their periods. So take everything I'm saying with a grain of salt. The red tent,
Wait, what's the red tent?
it's a book that's supposed to be almost like the female perspective of the Bible, but the red tent is about how back in the day when women were on their periods, because we'd all be synced up because we'd lived in a collectivistic cycle, we would go to a
Mhm.
separate tent, the red tent, and like do our spells, bury someone's first period if they get it, like take care of each other, braid each other's hair, like
Mhm.
be by the fire. It's like the time on your moon cycle to come together as women and like take a second to be separate, to rest, to reflect, to like do what we need to do together and come back. Which again, I say that flippantly, knowing that women in today's society are still
Mhm.
robbed of every opportunity just by having a period, which is horrific. So it's like an idealized spiritual standard. But in my personal bubble, if you and I could not talk to anyone and be together for our periods to just rub lotion on each other's backs and stare at the moon, howl at the moon,
Oh
my
yeah.
God.
Oh yeah. I mean, it's the same way that like man, and I don't mean men, like
Hmm.
man ruins religion.
Yeah.
You know
Yeah.
what I mean? It's all one and
Yeah.
the same. But
Give
yeah,
us the
I mean, those
list.
were my points. It's just
Oh,
like
okay.
judgment, judgment towards other women. I listed them: judgment,
How about what we
distrust,
talked about earlier?
competitive
The way
nature.
I
Mm,
100% will, my instant bias and instant thought towards women in LA that get the Kylie Jenner face. That's a judgment. And I
yeah.
look right at them and judge
Yes.
them for not wanting to be themselves, for wanting to look like everyone else, for
Hmm.
like hyper fixating on this role of like projecting an image, projecting a wealth. I immediately judge them. And we've already done it in this episode.
Yeah. No, as do
Yeah.
I. By literally, we've done it in this
Yeah.
episode. It's so true. There's so many. I do it with that. Oh, you know what you and I do all of
Oh
the
no.
time, and I'm
And now I
exposing
was
us
just going to
here
say, don't
is
out us to the people.
no, I'm outing us because
Out
we need
us.
to stop doing
Okay.
it because it's not, there's a way to do it in a healthy way. And we had a conversation about it, I'm pretty sure, on Patreon. So check out our Patreon. We often bitch about what other women's podcasts like that are more successful metric wise than ours are in like a not nice way.
Yeah, I did it at the party.
And I think that there are better ways for us to do that. So I'm going to say it out loud to the public so that we hold each other accountable. Because listen, nothing is more boring than not letting your best friend bitch. So like, don't be a fucking wet blanket is what I'm saying here. But also it's not healthy to be like, and they suck because this and this and this. And why do they have that? They have that because that is what the crowd wanted at that moment. And there's space for us to figure it out.
That's a good call out for us, though, because we get frustrated about some stuff in that realm a lot.
Yeah. And I think it's valid for the things that we're frustrated about.
Same.
But I also just think that like we're staying in that lack mentality
when we harp on
but
it.
We also need to be realistic to a certain extent and also understand that, you know, some of the networks or some of the things that we are talking about, like there is going to be a limit.
What do you know? It is frustrating when you situation. Who saw that coming?
Yeah. It is frustrating when you know that there's a quota and that there's a limit and that is being filled up by something that you're just like getting frustrated by. So I
hold space for our reasons, but I completely agree with you that we can articulate those reasons while still holding space for like, let's just let women win where we can as well and be excited about it. Another reason why I love Julia Fox.
What are other ways that we suck? Let's expose ourselves on the podcast.
I mean, I don't know about other ways we suck. I just think it's such a collective experience to have that distrust against other women and not be able to. I think especially when we talk about, this comes up a lot when we talk about expansive friendships and finding women that are really, really, really there for each other. Because the sad reality is when living in a society that benefits of us being pitted against each other, you will come in contact with other women that like have not unraveled that and unpacked that for themselves and figured out the ways it shows up in their life. Would you like to give an example on that? Please do.
Yes. I was literally having a conversation about this yesterday. And this is something that I want to delicately say because it ties back to that comment I made earlier about needing to also understand and have compassion, which I think is part of healing this wound of having compassion for why people are the way that they are, but understanding that it's not delusional for people to have thought that there wasn't space for them because quite literally there was only space for one of them. So the conversation I was having yesterday was about a particular industry, and we were saying how it would be great to be able to get some younger voices in the room, particularly when we were discussing, and I like hate describing other women, especially like older women this way, but jaded women who have had to fight tooth and nail to get to where they are, which like hats off to you, props to you, sister. Thank you for paving the road for us. And now are continuing to shut that door behind them because there's still that fear
that they can be the only one in the room.
Instead, which again still happens and still exists, so nuance your people, but the particular women that we were specifically speaking about are now in such a place of power where they're the ones making the list for who's in the room. So why are you closing the door? Because the room is yours. Why are you not bringing people to that table? So that was the through line of the conversation, was us being like, we need to start bringing in these younger people who do have these perspectives, especially like people make fun of Gen Z so much and whatever, but the fact that these conversations are even happening is so remarkable and amazing. And bringing in those opinions into a room could maybe just help illuminate some stuff and wiggle a few things around, because it is really disheartening. And I've noticed it a lot, especially as a freelancer who wants to break into certain, or who has broken into certain industries and wants to continue to grow in those industries and is, you know, fielding conversations when I think I'm talking to a mentor, but then I'm like, you're actually shady as fuck. And it's like, you thought that there was that trust there because you're both women and you can understand each other. And it's really, really disheartening. And at the same time, also a really positive reminder of the type of leader that I want to be.
Yes.
And the type of conversations I want to continue to have, because we're feeding into it. We're feeding into it. And they, whoever they are sitting there laughing, being like, haha,
they being
look at the morons that are doing what we told them to do.
And what's funny is like, if if we did just embrace healing
And
the
like
sister
white
wound and
men,
working
because
together.
this
Yes. Yeah,
patriarchy,
yeah,
sorry to
yeah.
interrupt you, but like patriarchy is set to serve
White men.
one person, and it is white men.
Yes,
Continue.
100% agreed. It's just like if we did work together, we'd probably be significantly less frustrated at men. Oh my God. And maybe we could even work better together because we're not going to men for the things that we should be going to our sisters for. Like that was something in Sedona at our coven trip. I mean, the entire weekend was defined by healing the sister wound. Like that's all we did. That's all we talked about. It was like the through line of every conversation, especially because we did like just, journaling together and mushrooms and unpacking things and like giving each other back rubs, braiding your hair, like that, going back to like being little girls and being sisters and like touch and play and like non sexual intimacy with each other and whatever that looks like is so important. And I think there's so much healing and understanding we get from being a community of women together. And I want to again preface, this goes without saying for people that know us that are active listeners, but maybe if someone's new here, we say woman in the most gender inclusive, gender identity inclusive term possible, that we would probably be a lot fucking less frustrated because we would go to each other for the things that we need from each other and not expect that from men and then be disappointed when they can't give it to us because we are different. We're different and those relationships are different. And I know we talk about it a lot in terms of like, don't go to your partner for what you would go to a best friend and hold space for boundaries and not pouring all your eggs in one basket, whatever. But in a collectivistic level, we need to turn to each other. And then when we work and get from each other what we need and deserve, that would be filled in order to have more patience, more understanding, better tools to work with men, XYZ. Like it would only benefit everyone by women coming together to support each other. I mean, maybe not old white men that still want the patriarchy, but everyone else.
I could go on a whole freaking tangent about the value of female friendships, the value of male friendships.
I mean, it's the
and
point of
this
it.
dynamic. Yeah. And it is like, I do get like, how much do I even want to go into this?
Go in a little bit.
I don't know. It does frustrate me when I see the narrative of just fuck men everywhere because it
Frustrates
also
me a lot.
diminishes the point too. Because
Yeah.
then when you're trying to have a conversation with a man, they're like, well, you just fucking hate us anyway. And I'm like,
No,
oh my
we
God.
don't.
It's like, you can't even have a conversation because this narrative is being projected out there. And it is frustrating. I understand why we're doing this. It's like women have been repressed suppressed just like for how fucking long? So obviously you're going to have this reaction. Whenever you go to one extreme, you're going to get the other. But we got to find a way to understand that we need to be able to work together.
Aaron and I talk about this almost every single night. And this goes back to us being on very different sides of the internet. Because he'll show me shit that he's seeing on his side of the internet that I'm just like mortified by.
Same with me and Zoe. Same with me
And I'm
and
like,
Zoe.
that is so not what my side of the internet is saying, and so sad and so unhelpful for the cause of even the creator itself, like for everyone involved. Like, and it is just, I see where these narratives come about. I see where the frustration, I frankly see like a lot of the like alt-right Republican frustrations. I'm getting that more because that's not my side of the internet. I don't understand what they're responding to. Aaron is on every side of the internet. Like he's looking up everything and trying to find every different opinion inside actively to have like a robust understanding of like ways in which of the world, which frankly I should be doing, but I use the internet as a job and it's whatever. Separate conversation. But he shows me shit where I'm like, oh, I get it. Like, I get where this, like, incel, we hate women, women hate us. Like, I get where these narratives are coming from. If this is, like, even jokes, like, even joke TikToks and joke memes. And I'm just like, oh my God. Like, it's so sad and so frustrating. And so, like, I don't know what the solution is. Like, I don't know. Because I don't trust this to be taught in schools.
Yeah, no, I don't trust it either. And going back to what you just said, because I also want to make super clear, it's like Meadow and I are never condoning any sort of, like, we don't condone incel groups.
No, of course not. But I understand where people are getting narratives when a lot of opinions coming out of the internet are just continuing to pit us against each other.
It goes back so far of men being abusive, women wanting to take power back, obviously. And it's this constant cycle of like, they abuse, they do all these awful things, we castrate, then they do it again, then we castrate them again. And it's just objectify, castrate. And it's just over and over and over and over and over again. It is this really vicious cycle. And I would love to have the conversation we should talk about it on the podcast. We should have a man on and talk about it on the podcast with a man.
I mean, how many times have we tried to get our men
I
on
know.
the podcast? Because we have these conversations with them all the time personally. So it would be fun to talk about it with them, especially as very safe, inclusive, kind men.
Tangent. And I could really keep going off on it. And I kind of like, there's a part of me that doesn't want to stop the tangent because also that it's not a light conversation to have. And I don't want to be flippant about it. And I don't want to be like, women are wrong, men are not. Like, I don't want that to come off that way.
I don't think we sound that way at all.
If anything, the better when I said, I don't think we sound that way, but like, you know me, I'm always fucking on the side of caution. But yeah, I just think it's something interesting for people to get a little bit curious about.
Did you ever have like a very poignant moment in real time being like, oh, fuck, I'm contributing to this?
Yeah.
Like an out of body moment? Is it one that you can share?
It was when I was single and dating around a lot. I would constantly, and there's like one particular situation that comes to mind, and I'm sure you can guess who it is, but it's just this constant, I'm like, is this a word? Like, just like villainizing somebody who, again, granted, like two things can be true. Like they can suck. And then I can also be like extremely condescending. This is something that I'm unpacking a lot in therapy right now, which we know I don't really often talk about what I'm currently unpacking, but I feel fine talking about this. I never really acknowledged the way in which my parents' divorce impacted me because they had, by all accounts, a pretty clean divorce, at least from the kids' perspective. And I'm very grateful to both my parents for doing that. But because of that, I never really, and I grew up around a lot of divorce. So I just never really like thought it impacted me. And now, you know, I'm a year and a half into my relationship. Rose-colored glasses are surely off. And we've like, you know, gotten into conversations that have been really indicative of like, okay, are we fighting for each other here? Like, are we going to fight for the relationship? And it was this moment that illuminated in me of immediately feeling weak and embarrassed that I had talked to my friends about the fight, that I then, you know, and like, guys, no one cheated, nothing horrific,
No,
whatever.
course,
It was an
yeah.
argument. But the point that like I called Meadow and bitched to Meadow and was on the phone. And then the next day I was like, oh, we had a talk and we're all totally good. Like I was mortified, like in a deep, deep level about it. And I was talking about it with my therapist and I was like, I have never seen in my family unit, I don't know what it looks like to fight for a relationship and you're fighting for a positive relationship. I have fought for plenty of toxic relationships, but I have really grown up around the narrative of support yourself. You don't need a man. You need to be an independent person. Like, and while I totally think that everyone should have their own fuck you fund and have an escape plan and like, you know, whatever, we don't need to be doomsdayers, but like be smart. I grew up so much hearing that narrative that then choosing to fight for a relationship made you weak. And I'm not saying that that's anything that like my mom straight up said to me, but that narrative of like, I've heard it so much throughout my life.
It's how your brain took
certain
it.
women in my life of like, if they're arguing so much, like just fucking get a divorce. Like, why are you together? Like just get a divorce. And it's said so flippantly that I really digested it in a very deep, deep way where it was like, you're betraying who you are as a woman by staying with a man because they're not meeting like every demand. And I'm not saying like needs, that's different, but like demand that you want, or like they're not folding every time you say, or not jumping every time you say jump.
Right. Yeah.
And so that's been a really interesting thing to navigate. And it I think is really like a deep place of where this sister wound thing sort of starts too, because then it's like I judge other women who stay and I judge other women who are stay-at-home moms. Like I see that a lot in myself.
It's interesting that you even say feeling mortified by talking to me about it, because to me, I'm like, that's sister wound. Like you should never feel mortified to talk through a feeling. The show is called Thoughts May Vary. If you feel differently the next way because you have new information, a new conversation, new insights, new revelations, like that's the point of being alive and being a sister. And the whole point is being able to like share those in a safe space, in a sisterhood with each other along the way.
Do you know what I think has contributed to that specific thing? Is that, I mean, I've dated plenty of really bad men. I wouldn't say, I've dated one bad man. I've dated plenty of like shitty partners, like whatever. And because of that, I think there's like this, obviously, like we want to protect one another as women and as girls. And like we want to protect one another. So we hear our friends going through something and we like are like, fuck him, get out of there, whatever, which like love, go team, we're strong for each other. But then I also think that in that same constant narrative, we consistently lose our trust for men and we lose our hope that there are good men out there. And so when we feel like we have a good man, I feel like I need to defend the goodness, even though like there's going to be darkness in the good too. Like we're going to fight, and maybe our fights are going to be shittier than like another friend's is with their partner and, or just different or whatever the fuck. So I feel like being in a relationship with someone that like I wholeheartedly believe is a good man, I feel like I then need to like defend. I still feel like it's that narrative of like the accusatory from the woman's side, even though you have never done that to me. I've experienced that a lot of like the judgment and accusation from the woman's side being like, well, why did you stay? You're just weak.
We've talked about this privately more than obviously in this space, but I've watched you from like the beginning of the podcast to now, like dismantle that so much. Like even with everything you're saying, you are so different how you approach that, how you're looking at it, how you're responding to it than before. And even the awareness of, I feel the need to defend as opposed to defending and then getting shameful about going back to that pattern. Like you're just making more and more space between you and something that you don't think is serving you anymore in a cool way. I'm like watching it happen in real time in a really cool way.
I noticed it with this past argument too, because I didn't feel the need to explain why the conversation ended why it did. Like I trusted myself to know what, like, I can come to you for advice. And sometimes when I'm really like hot-headed, I need a gut check of like, am I being fucking insane right now?
Which should be a safe space to do amongst sisters without then having to go back and defend why you made a choice you did.
Yeah.
Which makes me so happy because I do think we have a special group of women that helps us do that. Like I was looking at that video that Dana took of all of us on your balcony laughing at Maddie eating the eggshell. And I was like, I just fucking love women. Like when women really
that day was so fun.
So pure, so fun, so wholesome. It reminds me of like the day of your birthday when you cried. Like we have a good group of women really showing up for each other, trying to help it. Girls in STEM. Like we really are out here solving world issues. Like, and just being each other's bestie and silly and fun and playful and girly. And like, I just love it.
I have a question. When did you, going back to what you said about how you were, where you were like, I don't want to be a girl's girl because girls are mean to me and it'll make me look cool, whatever combination of the things it was. What the amalgamation of whatever truths were happening at that time. What was it? Was there like a specific moment that went off in your brain where you were like, this needs to change? And like, how did you approach it?
I don't think it was a specific moment. I think also like being a baby queer, but not really talking about that or saying that out loud to anyone made that more.
Somebody make that merch for Meta.
Being a baby queer.
A baby queer.
Being a baby queer, like made that a lot more nuanced and interesting to hold. I wouldn't say there was like one moment. I will say like I met Becky in 8th grade and was like, oh, I have a love of my life in a best friend form as a woman. And like that opened up my being able to like form deeper, more intimate long lasting friendships with other women. And some of those have lasted since that era. And they're in that video that we play that we're referring to on your balcony 2 days ago. And some have fizzled out, but I think it was that plus it was like an interesting dynamic of also like having a boyfriend from 8th grade through college, the same one. So like my best friend was a boyfriend that we did everything together, but then I had like I just found like I really needed the balance, or you find whether or not I don't even think I was like conscious of it, but how refreshing it is to just be surrounded by girlhood as a girl and be in that safe space and be with one another. Like it's just so rejuvenating for your soul that I don't think it was like a conscious thing, but it slowly made me realize like, oh no, I don't fuck with that. Like, that's not true. That doesn't work. But my mother was that way. Like, my mother she was always a girl's girl. Obviously, she was raised with 4 sisters. You know, there's 5 of them all when you're apart.
Mm-hmm.
But I also Erin said something. We say it to my mom's face. She'll never listen to this, but we say it to her face. So I feel fine saying it on here. But Erin said something to me and I was like, oh God, that helps me recontextualize my mother so much. Where he was like, you realize your mother is a hot girl from the 70s.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, she was a hot, bitchy girl in high school. One of the first women she was the first woman she knew to get on birth control, to go to a doctor and demand it because she wanted to have sex with whoever she wanted. But to this day, I watch one-off judgments of other women walking past us on the street and I'll be like, oh my God, this is where I have these little judgments or thoughts that pop up. And I'm watching you do it in real time thinking shut the fuck up. That's so mean. How can you say that? And I'm like, oh, she's literally a hot girl from the 70s. She's from a different time where she says things that are to me so mean. And I can see sometimes examples of my brain going there and being like, oh my God, how could you think that? And I'm like, oh, I was raised by a hot girl of the 70s. And it's just a funny way to recontextualize it and understand. And I'm not saying she's mean to all women by any means.
How the fuck do I have the dead battery flashing at me already?
Healing it. Yeah. I wonder, it's interesting because we were having the conversation about how do you even have these conversations in school? Because I'm thinking about my niece who's 17. I'm thinking about me in school. And it's you're around this narrative of girls are just fucking bitches. Because they really can be. They really, we can be fucking evil bitches.
Young girl. Okay. I gotta say one story. Our dear friend Annika and our friend Greg, she tells me a story once that they were high as a kite in a Target and they were doing whatever. And they both, without a word, walk to go to an aisle and there's 3 13-year-old girls at the end without saying the word. They both turn around and run away. And he's like, I'm not trying to be outed or bullied today. I can't be here.
No, literally.
Teenage
I get
girls are so
tense.
scary.
Yeah, I get
I love them so much. They're so fierce and live in your truth, honey. But some of y'all be so, and I know because I was one. We could be scary.
Same.
Yeah.
And it all stems. It's how far back does this go?
Right.
Because I'm thinking about the cuntiness that came out of my body when I was younger. And I'm okay, a lot of it fucking stemmed from only one can be in charge. Oh, if you're acting a certain type of way, you can take my man, or you're a threat to me. It's all this threat.
Well, we were also
preteens
during Gossip Girl, during The Click, during everything fed us that was the truth.
Yes.
Everything.
Yes. No wonder my mom and I would fight so much about me watching Gossip Girl. And it wasn't because of the sex. It was literally because people were mean. Because I would watch the show and I'd walk out of the room and I'd be meaner than I was 5 minutes ago. And we didn't have the brains that we have now to be able to watch the show and be like, haha, that was stupid, and turn it off.
Because your brain wasn't even fully developed. You're a baby.
So it's you're right. All the media that we were consuming around that time is bitchy, clicky, mean girl energy. You know what movie?
The Devil Wears Prada? Everything.
No, but you know what movie I watched? Were you with me or was it just with Maddie the other day when we watched John Tucker Must Die?
Oh, it was just you and Maddie, but you told me about it.
And that's a movie. Yeah, it's all about we hate men, but it is a movie where it is all the bitchy girls, but it is about sisterhood.
Yeah.
And how they come together in it. But yeah, I'm how do you start healing that? Or it's at these conversations that start healing it, obviously on a bigger level that start healing it, because it's for our young girls and for our future daughters, I'm thinking about my niece and I'm how do I have a conversation with her when she's girls are being mean to me. I only have guy friends because the girls are mean to me. Not saying this is her reality, but I'm saying if this would be a conversation we'd be having, I'm I'm not going to go tell you to be friends with those fucking bitches.
But you got to find some woman to be friends with.
Right. So, but when you're a kid and you're in school all day.
It's so hard.
And then you have your extracurriculars with the same kids.
It's so hard.
It's it's hard.
And also I remember being in high school and thinking this is lasting forever. This never ends. I hate this. It lasts forever. And then you look back and every adult that tells you in the time that you want to just strangle, that's this is a fucking blip in your life. You'll never think about it again, is frankly very true. But you can't hear it in your reality, especially with an underdeveloped brain. It is all consumed. It feels like the end all be all. It really does.
I had a cool experience the other day when I was home for Thanksgiving. We had a high school reunion and we went and I was walking through with one of my best friends, and her and I had such different high school. She loved high school. And look, I loved high school too, but I also frankly hated high school. I had a really hard I went through a lot of drama. Not to say that I wasn't contributing to a lot of it. Like, I'm not absolving myself of it, but it was just a hard time.
Yeah.
Like, it was a hard
Yeah.
time for me. And I did have a lot of those like catastrophic, this is going to last forever moments. And so it was so interesting walking through with two people who had such vastly different experiences in high school, feeling like we were walking through the hallway. All the buildings were locked, but we like found an open
Oh, it
door,
was
and I was like,
literally
I took
on
my
your
heels off.
campus.
It was on our
Okay.
campus. And it's a big, big campus. So her and I were wandering around. I like took my heels off. I was like walking barefoot. And we were walking through this hallway, and it was like I just had all these memories of like how many times I cried in that bathroom, how many times like this was the class that like I had the boy that I liked in, but like the other girl who also like all of the drama. And I was just like, this place used to feel so scary and so big. And it just, I was able to just like smile and just like walk through all the places and be like, wow, like what a time. Even like we ran into a lot of people, and like, look, my high school was really cliquey. Like, it was really, really cliquey. And we ran into like a couple girls who like we were never friends with. We were just like in two completely separate cliques. And she was there with her husband and and we never had like beef, but like we just weren't friends. And we saw her, we gave her a big hug, and it was like me and my friend and her like husband, and like she was showing us pictures of her baby and like all this stuff. And I was just like, it's so crazy that it's like we probably didn't exchange that many words to one another, but we can graduate and like so many years later come back and just acknowledge each other for the humans that we are and be like, wasn't this place so scary? And like now it's not.
I hope to never get that moment. Over my dead body would I ever go to a high school reunion. Aaron would love that shit. But to make that point, like, I wonder, this is where I get hopeful and scared about tech and digital communities in terms of if there really is no one for you in your area, I hope you find solace with online communities that make you feel seen and heard and understood, and you can chat in the comments or on the like of a YouTube video or a page, whatever it is. But then I still understand how that leaves you feeling so disconnected in real life, and how to find those tools to find new age woman sister friendships that are like willing to look at themselves in that way. I don't know the answer. I don't know the answer. I feel like we need to talk to a teen. Can we get a teen girl on here?
Let's have the youth. Let's have the youth come on the podcast.
We need the youth to come on the podcast.
With your parents' consent, can you come on the podcast?
Literally.
Maybe. Oh, I would love a girl and like her mom to come on.
I would love that. That could be fun.
Oh my god, I love that for us. Maybe we'll have my niece and my sister-in-law.
Yeah, totally.
They would do that.
Totally.
Okay, should we talk about a couple ways of like now in our adult years
how to heal it? Yes.
I mean, I think we've done a big chunk of it too, which is like acknowledging that it even exists. You can't heal pain without acknowledging that the pain is there.
I mean, everything goes back to mean to be. Self-care is the bridge to community care. Community care is the bridge to community healing. So when you start acknowledging how you're feeding into this, when you start reading about the history, when you start like looking at the way it has affected you in your childhood and your days now, how you move through work, how you move through relationships, whatever, that can help you start to dismantle the ways you're participating in order to find like-minded women that are also trying to do the same thing.
Similarly to just the way that we heal anything, any sort of trauma that we've endured, I think there's a lot of compassion and forgiveness that have to be in the mix for yourself.
This is all shadow work.
For others.
Sister wound is shadow work.
Holding a mirror, babe. Holding a mirror. So I think there's a lot of that. And I think we brought that into this conversation throughout every contradiction and piece of nuance that we talked about of like, we understand why they're right there.
Yeah. Totally.
It was integrated. I think you said something interesting at the end of what we were talking about, like teenage girls, is finding and creating opportunities of connection and being open to those connections.
And that requires an open heart. And it requires vulnerability. And that is really painful for a lot of people, especially when you feel like you've been burned. That's a painful thing to go through, to put yourself out there. But it's the only way to do it. It's worth it.
Yeah, I guess like the last thing that comes to my mind is what we talked about earlier, which is just reclaiming your own power and understanding that your power doesn't diminish somebody else's. And also, I think it's interesting when we mentioned earlier too of like your wins are my wins, my pain is your pain, because it's a collective thing. If you're showing somebody else that respect, but you're not showing that to yourself, look at that. Look at that. And if you're still stuck in that like judgment comparison game, look at that too. And I think both of those are rooted in some sort of sadness and insecurity.
The triggers as a roadmap really does the job, really does the trick.
But again, I'm not a therapist, so I don't know.
Hey, we can speak
Just
from
my 2 cents.
This is peer support group, baby. We speak from our own experiences here, and that's what's helped us find each other. And I also think
Yeah.
that's another good example of the like expansion piece, especially because yesterday and today is the new moon in Sag, which is my moon sign, and it's a bit like the whole theme feels very like about exploring expansion. So I think that's another good example of if you don't have anyone in your life that's works together as women and loves each other as women or has a coven, whatever that is, like finding those examples for what you're looking for can help you to then look at those triggers, that roadmap, to hold that mirror, to see what a healthy example is, to understand what you're looking for. Like, go seek that out. And maybe that's the part of tech that becomes helpful, is seeking out the types of connections you're looking for and conversations you want to have and people that are looking at that expansion piece to then take to be informed when going out into the real world and trying to foster those connections.
Food for thought, team.
Food for thought, team. Anyway, this is barely
fun.
scratching the surface, and especially, the coven is gonna. I mean, 1/4 of them has come on the podcast already. Not well. I guess it's a third because if I'm the host, half
No,
yeah,
then
right, half the pod, half the coven. Don't ask.
Women in STEM, Meadow. Women in STEM.
Half the coven has been on the podcast because a fourth of them co-host this podcast. The other half is obviously going to come on eventually, but I would just love to continue talking about this, especially with them, because that's the main theme of the coven is fucking healing the sister wound, baby. It's the theme. It's the theme of this podcast anyway.
This will be an ongoing convo.
Exactly. We're just scratching the surface, but it's worth it to bring it up in more of a segment because we haven't yet. And I think it'll prompt a lot of really, really cool questions and conversations from our community. Because y'all kind of ask these things anyway, but so having like a specific, like send us sister wound questions, like I know they're going to go in. Okay.
You guys are the best.
You're the best, but we got to go film a holiday special and I got to charge this fucking battery. So if the holiday special also has shitty quality through half of it, I'm very sorry. I will buy extra batteries to make sure that the quality is always gorgeous for you all. Thank you for being here during the process and watching us grow and change and get better and continue to try to up level.
Rock on.
And if you want the quality to get better and you want the guests to get bigger and you want the conversations to be more expansive, please send this to a friend, rate, subscribe, ring the bell, whatever the fuck you are at. Please help us because it's easy and it's free on your end, and all it does is help us to try to get better and better and better for you.
Thank you for saying that, Meadow.
Yeah.
Rate and review, subscribe to our YouTube.
We should not do it at the end of the YouTube. We should do it at the beginning of the podcast.
No, we should do it in the beginning. We gotta be like somewhere. We gotta be like Diary of a CEO.
You gotta start somewhere.
Yeah. So
love you, sister.
We gotta start somewhere, team. Love you.
How's it going, y'all? It's Aaron. Don't let your Monday suck. Don't have those Sunday scaries. I'm tired of everybody waking up in the week saying, shit, it's Monday. You know what goes down? TMV releases every week on Mondays. Make sure you rate and review wherever you get your podcasts. And if you're watching YouTube, yes, TMV has a YouTube. Be sure to subscribe and ring that noti bell and never miss a thing. And also, join the TMV Familia by joining the Thoughts May Vary Patreon and by following at Thoughts May Vary Pod on Instagram and TikTok. Thank you for listening.
Great.
There you go.
Thanks, AB.
Got y'all.